Step 1. Overturn Roe v. Wade by completely ignoring the original logic of the case, which showed that you cannot enforce a blanket ban on abortion without infringing upon people's constitutional rights to privacy. Step 2. Express explicit intent to try and overturn Lawrence v. Texas, which protects people from states making laws against sodomy, aka any kind of sex besides straight penis and vagina. Step 3. Make a decision that says schools must allow prayer within their premises, even by their own staff, as long as it's Christian. Well, that third ruling did not say as long as it's Christian, but in this case, it was Christian prayer. And there is a startling trend happening very quickly that makes it very clear the conservative majority Supreme Court of the United States has decided their job is no longer to interpret the Constitution in its original context, nor to interpret it with an understanding of what its authors, the Founding Fathers, intended, but simply to interpret it as a right-wing handbook because the conservatives have the majority, so they get to decide what happens. And they are using that power and abusing it. If we extrapolate from these 3 data points, which, not enough data to be sure, but 3 is a line. We extrapolate, then the next step would be to disallow prayer of non-Christian faiths. I guarantee you that after that decision to allow prayer in schools, at some point, either a Muslim or a Satanist is going to try and pray in school and be denied that right. At which point, we have effectively established a state religion, which ironically enough is explicitly against the Establishment Clause of the Constitution that the Supreme Court is sworn to uphold. Your job, and I'm speaking to all of the Supreme Court justices here, but especially Justice Clarence Thomas, who seems to be the most vocal on the subject, your job is to decide what the Constitution meant when it was written. It's to decide what the Founding Fathers intended, what they wanted for our country, and from there, to decide how best to enact those ideals in our legal system today. Your job is not to figure out how to twist an interpretation of the Constitution to fit the right-wing conservative agenda, and yes, it is an agenda. A lot of conservatives will complain about the social justice warrior agenda, the liberal agenda. Things like allowing people to love who they want and not pretend they don't exist. Treating people like humans is an agenda. Here we have conservatives in positions of power, 6 of them, deciding that their personal beliefs, their right-wing values, and in many cases their religious values, they completely outweigh what the Constitution actually intended. And if you believe that, you do not deserve a position on the Supreme Court because you do not understand your job. By the way, speaking of religious people, I don't remember the exact chapters and verses, but I will definitely put them down in the description along with citations for the other 3 court decisions that I mentioned, or 2 court decisions and 1 expressive intent. But religious people, especially Christians here in the U.S., will hide behind their religion as a reason to be against abortion, to be happy that Roe v. Wade has been overturned, etc., etc. except those people don't know their own religion. Now, I've always been honest. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any gods, any religions. So it should be utterly shocking that I understand your religion better than you do. You see, Exodus, again, chapter and verse in the description, Exodus makes it clear that if two people are fighting and it causes a miscarriage, two people are fighting and there's a pregnant woman around and it causes a miscarriage, first of all, the punishment for that is far, far less than the punishment for murder. In fact, that same section, those same chapter and verses, make a clear distinction between causing a miscarriage, aka abortion, and severe injury. It's not even considered a severe injury in the Bible. The punishment for severe injury is very Hammurabi, and it's an eye for an eye, a life for a life. So you kill someone in a fight, then the punishment is that you die. You cause a miscarriage, the punishment is not that you die, it's a fine. It's a fine of whatever amount the court decides. So you're going to tell me that your religion thinks that unborn fetuses are children and that abortion is murder? No. It very clearly says it is not murder. It very clearly says it is not serious injury to a person. You get punished for hurting the woman, but you don't get punished for any damages to the unborn child because it is not yet a child. Now, some of you may say, hey, that's Exodus, that's the Old Testament. We're Christians, we're the New Testament. Jesus came and he, replaced the old laws. Well, that's not true. It's not true at all. In fact, according to, again, your own Bible, the New Testament, Matthew, I believe Matthew 5:18 through 20, but again, the actual verses will be in the description below. A lot of people will point to Matthew 5:18, I think it is, where Jesus said, I have not come to abolish the law, but I have come to fulfill it. And they'll say, therefore he fulfilled the old laws and we don't have to follow the Old Testament. It's not that important. But they fail to read the very next fucking sentence. Because Matthew 5:18 through 20, I think, says, Jesus himself said, I did not come to abolish the law, I have come to fulfill it. Those who ignore the least of the law will be called least in the kingdom of heaven, and those who follow the laws and teach them to their children will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. And again, I don't remember the exact wording. It's all in the description. He basically says, you still have to follow all the old laws. You still have to follow the Old Testament. If you don't, you will not get into heaven. So don't tell me that you don't have to follow Exodus laws. And Exodus explicitly says that causing a miscarriage, like an abortion does, is not murder. It is not even severe injury. So don't say that your religion tells you abortion is murder, because it doesn't. Don't hide behind your religion. And Justice Clarence Thomas and the other 5 conservative Supreme Court justices don't try and interpret the Constitution of the United States, which is your job, as some caricature of religion that you have been told because you have been lied to. That is not what your religion says, and you do not get to decide what the Constitution says based on your personal morality. Your decisions affect millions of people. You do not get to decide the health, safety, life, and death of millions of people based on your own personal beliefs about a zygote. This needs to stop. This trend of the Supreme Court deciding that because they are a majority conservative, they can just rule in a conservative manner regardless of what the Constitution says or intended, regardless of who it hurts, It needs to stop. Do your fucking job, and if you can't do your job the right way, quit. You can't get fired, unfortunately, but you can quit.